You took away the power from her, the power that she could have had to make the decision of whether or not she wanted to keep you around when you're still deciding. And that's not fair. You kept the power for yourself, for your own benefit, at her expense.
Hi, we're Julie and Kelly, and we are here to find love. We are two dating coaches that like to get really deep on reality TV stuff. Today, we're analyzing the Bachelorette, Gabby and Rachel season.
Okay, so we are in week 5 of Gabby and Rachel season, and at some point, Rachel mentions that we are 2 weeks away from hometowns, which, by the way, is terrifying, shocking. Like,
flabbergasted.
She said that, I was like, excuse me?
Like, I thought absolutely no way. This is like a real thing. We're super close, and I just don't feel compelled or convinced about any connection on that boat.
I hope none of these girls are convinced, because we have seen nothing. These guys are giving us so little. I'm very shocked. So the episode opens up with Logan and the whole Logan drama. And boy, do I have a lot to say about Logan. Logan goes and talks to Rachel. He tells her that he is no longer interested in dating her and that he was going to go and try to date Gabby.
I'm going to have to, like, step away from pursuing things with you.
Logan ditches Rachel, goes to Gabby's camp, and Gabby kind of welcomes him with open arms. Listen, here's how I feel about this. I think it is totally okay for Logan to realize or decide that he actually has feelings for Gabby and he wants to go pursue her. I think that's totally fine. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is how he went about this, because clearly the way he's talking to both Rachel and Gabby, he really explains that he's been thinking about Gabby since their first group date on week 2.
At the end of the night, I originally thought that I was going to receive a rose from Gabby.
Okay.
And it's been hard for me moving forward to kind of forget about that connection.
Okay, so that means he's accepted 3 roses from Rachel over the course of this time, when in fact he was always confused and thinking about Gabby, but he kept accepting Rachel's roses. And so to me, what this is it was like he made Rachel think that he was in on her, when in reality he was in the back of his head trying to figure things out. He was confused. He was like trying to see how he felt. And to me, I think that therein lies the problem. Like, this is an issue, and this is why I'm so fired up about this. This is an issue that I see happen in modern dating so often. I see it happen with the women that I work with. I see it happen with my peers. I can think of 2 women in particular who this has happened to them very recently, and it really grinds my gears, because listen, it's okay for a guy to not be sure about how he feels about you and to eventually decide that he doesn't want to date you. That's fine, but you should be clear. You should be transparent from the front, from the top, that you are still figuring things out. Don't make that girl think that you are all in on her. Don't let her start falling in love with you when you are not sure. When you are not sure if you want to actually be there for her. He made her believe it was a yes, when in fact it was a maybe. It was a maybe all along, but he told her it was a yes. He made her feel like it was a yes, and that was the issue with this. It's not okay to lead someone on and make them think that you're in on them, when in reality you're still deciding. She deserves the information to know that you're not sure, right? She deserves to be able to decide for herself whether she wants to pursue something with someone who is still deciding. And she might decide, sure, I'll keep hanging out with you while we're both figuring things out. She might decide yes. But for you to make that decision for her, not tell her that that's where you are, that to me I think it's cruel. I think that is how people end up getting so hurt. I see so many people get so hurt by men kind of keeping their heart, making it seem like they are in on you, and then only to later tell you that actually all along I wasn't sure about this. It's like, you could have said something weeks ago, Logan. You could have said something weeks ago, and instead you let her get hurt because you wanted to decide. You wanted to think things through, and it's like, think things through out loud. Let that girl in and let her know where you are.
Dude, I think that's such an excellent point, because everything that you said about Logan, it's so true. And I just can't help but keep thinking that once again, this was like Logan having this weird main character moment almost. It's like become his season. It's like, what does he want? What's his Bachelorette? It's this tortured decision for him. Thinking about the fact that he was wasting Gabby's rose, I don't think that really came, not Gabby's rose, Rachel's rose. I don't think that came into consideration as deeply as his own desires. And I just keep noticing that all of the men kind of have a little bit of that energy, but Logan is kind of really leaning into that right now.
You took away the power from her, the power that she could have had to make the decision of whether or not she wanted to keep you around when you're still deciding. And that's not fair. You kept the power for yourself, for your own benefit, at her expense. It's not that I think that Logan is a bad person, and of course, like, the caveat to all of this is we only know what we saw on this TV show. We don't know Logan as the real human being Logan. We only know the character Logan that is being kind of portrayed to us on this TV screen and in this story crafted by producers. So that's all we know, and that's what I'm reacting to. But I do think that this particular type of behavior, the willingness to lead someone on and put them in a position to get hurt while you figure out what you want, I think that is something we need to scrub it out of dating.
Logan had a missed opportunity to really show what it looks like to be vulnerable and courteous at the same time. Because you're right, he could have totally told Rachel ahead of time. Maybe he would have left sooner, but I think that it would have really shown his character as a person and his ability to kind of have other considerations outside of himself and what he wants all the time. So it was very interesting how Gabby took him into her group, because I'm like, red flag, red flag, red flag. Everything he's doing is pointing to like, oh, this guy is not going to be the best at handling certain situations. So when she took him, I just thought, what are you doing?
Completely
Please don't
agree.
do this.
To me, that also kind of, it kind of made Gabby look a little bad to me. It made me question her judgment a little bit, her decision to keep him around. I get that. Again, you have to follow your heart. I get it. You have to see things through. But yeah, Logan showed all kinds of red flags by, being willing to essentially play Rachel and use her roses as a way to buy himself time to think about what he wants and make a decision that actually he wants to be with Gabby. He used her roses essentially for his own purposes. And to me, I think that Gabby should have seen that and seen his willingness to be so hurtful to her friend and sent him packing. So I don't know. I was a little concerned about Gabby. That kind of made me wonder kind of what's going on in Gabby's head here. And she was also not very, thoughtful with her group of guys, right? Yeah. They all seemed really upset that Logan suddenly showed up on the group date, and she was just kind of like, yay, Logan's here.
It felt like Hayden almost, when Rachel took Hayden into her group after he said some very mean things to Gabby to reject her. Mm-hmm. It's like there's hints being thrown at you. These men are showing you who they are. You're getting to see them in all of these different settings. You're seeing them date someone else. Take the warning. Yes. So when she didn't take it, it's like, okay, I just know that Logan is... There's going to be something of Logan later on. He just doesn't seem like he's going to be this person of this positive character arc.
I know. I just think he's just going to probably have another kind of selfish move somewhere along the line that's going to hurt Gabby, right? That's the thing. It's no one action should define anyone. It's, people can make mistakes, but Logan doesn't have any regrets. You can see that he's like, I did it. Haha, I'm so happy. Got away with it. Woohoo! He seems happy about the way he handled it, right? He doesn't have regrets about the way he handled it, which shows that he's probably going to keep doing it. What do you think? Do you all think Logan has been a bit of a player this season? Leave a comment down below if you are kind of over it. I think the other piece of this is the Rachel situation and how she responded to Logan and what Logan did.
Because this was supposed to be my time to find someone, and everyone's rejected me week after week after week.
It seems like a lot of people on the internet are, in general, very critical of Rachel. I think people are getting really fed up with Rachel crying and Rachel, having any kind of reaction, any kind of emotional reaction. When people are being mean to her, if she cries, people are more upset with Rachel crying than they are with the people who are being mean to her. People think that they should just let these hurts roll off their shoulders, which to me it's a very odd thing. And I think people are in particular being a lot more critical of Rachel than they are with Gabby. I think Gabby, because Gabby is so goofy and lovable, people have so much patience with her. But with Rachel, I think people, I don't know. I'm actually not sure why people are so accepting of Gabby's breakdowns in comparison to Rachel. I'm not sure what that is, but people really seem to be fed up with Rachel. And, you know, personally, I'm kind of over it. I'm kind of over the way people are reacting to this because, you know, Rachel is allowed to have emotions, right? She's allowed to be sad when someone is being, you know, careless with her and someone's being careless with her feelings. She's allowed to be sad over getting rejected, right? Like, being rejected hurts, right? It hurts most people have a emotional reaction to when someone they like rejects them, right? I think that is true for maybe not everyone, but most people will feel sad. Most people, like, a lot of people might cry a little bit, right? It so happens that all of these reactions are getting filmed and she's getting like a lot of her screen time is spent crying, but that's obviously intentional on the part of the producers to just capture every moment that she's crying, right? But I don't think she's being unreasonable. To me, it feels like she's having very normal emotional reactions to upsetting situations that are in line with how most people would react to those situations.
I think there's typically this like storybook fantasy that it's like all of these people that are fighting or competing for your heart are 100% so in love with you. They've been thinking about you before the season started. Like, they've told their family about you. They've thought about your personality and how it matches with theirs. So I think that when you're the lead, you know, there's all of these people that are always clamoring for your attention. This is the first season where it's really felt like the leads haven't had that. The men have been a little bit more like, oh, I get to choose between these two different girls. So it feels a little bit like they have to fight for the men's attention as well. And I think Rachel is in particular really picking up on that because it's like she doesn't even get to have that Bachelorette experience where she just feels like the men are completely into her. She has to feel like she's fighting for their attention or they don't really want to be with her. And all of these other things that no other lead has really had to deal with ever on their season. Yeah. Or just a few men, not like the entire group.
Rachel even says this at one point that she feels like she's kind of gotten dealt a bad hand, right? And she's having so many bad days, one after the other. And I think she did get dealt a bad hand, both in terms of being on this ridiculous 2 Bachelorette season and in terms of just like what's happening, right? She's definitely experiencing more direct rejections than Gabby has been experiencing. And so it makes sense that Rachel will be crying more than Gabby is.
I can't go in there being like, oh, someone else left. And I feel like a failure is like the Bachelorette. Because it's like, Logan just came in and dumped me for another Bachelorette. Like, this is humiliating. Yeah. Humiliating. And so, like, I'm going to try to go tonight, but, like, I just still don't feel great.
Like, I would honestly feel the same way.
And I don't actually think it's because Rachel is, at heart, this awful, insecure person who's, like, a puddly mess. Like, I don't think she's an insecure person. I think she's having these normal emotions like sadness and embarrassment, right? It's embarrassing to get rejected in front of all the other guys that you're trying to date. That's embarrassing, right? It's exhaustion, right? You're exhausted by being sad every day, right? These are just normal reactions to me, and they don't seem out of line with how most people would react in those situations. I don't think people can sit with the discomfort of watching a woman be sad when people are treating her poorly, right? And I think that people want, you know, Rachel to have like a snappy comeback or to be like Hannah Brown and just move the podium over and just keep going, you know? Like, I think people want Rachel to, I don't know, hold it in or just put on a brave face. They don't want to watch her cry. They don't want to watch her be sad. But, you know, people asked for more real TV, and I think a more real Bachelorette, right? Everyone keeps saying, like, Gabby's so real and down to earth, but I don't know. I think Rachel's being pretty real and down to earth by just being super candid. Like, you did a mean thing? Yeah, my feelings are hurt. Shocking.
There's a lot of strength in being vulnerable and being able to cry and say, hey, you really hurt my feelings. But people don't really value that soft skill. They value someone that's like, I'm going to keep it together and I'm going to stand up for myself and I'm going to yell at you and I'm going to display my strength. People really love when people flex that side, but I think there's a lot of beauty to what Rachel is displaying and how she's really able to be herself in these moments when it's really hard to be her. Like, I don't, like, being a Bachelorette, there is no benefit to it this season. I don't see any of the Bachelorettes really getting any good benefit from being the lead. I just think that they're constantly fighting for attention. They're comparing themselves to each other, and it's really getting to Rachel, but I think it's going to get to Gabby too. I think it's going to flip-flop the entire season, and it's not going to let up. Like, all of these girls, they're just not going to feel completely secure until the very end.
How do you move forward? You can't. Like, you can't do that. I would like to literally rather be alone.
He said he can't love me. It's like, am I too broken for anyone to love?
Yeah. I really like what you said about, like, people wanting, like, strength. They want to see strength. They don't want to see vulnerability. But yeah, you're right. I think being able to cry and, like, being able to say, like, actually, yeah, that, like, hurt me. Like, that is strong, right? And the thing is, like, having like I'm gonna have a snappy reaction and just send you out the door and then, like, bottle up my feelings and act like I'm not hurt just because I had the cathartic snapback. Like, at the end of the day, that comes back to you, right? Those feelings that you push down, right? Those feelings that you bottle up because you want to appear strong, that comes back to you, right? Like, years down the line when it's like, all of a sudden, or not even years, I would say this comes back to you much sooner than that. I would say, like, months down the line, right? When you are feeling that feeling of, like, God, I'm so reactive. God, I've been just feeling so out of it lately. It's because you're bottling up all of those emotions, right? You're bottling up how you really feel. I mean, I think that's what happens when you bottle your feelings up. And so I actually think it's great that Rachel is just, like, being super candid and, like, not letting people get away with things. Like, Rachel putting on a brave face, honestly, who does that benefit? That only benefits the guys who are hurting her. If she puts on a brave face, right, if she, like, says, like, oh, I don't care, it doesn't matter to me, I'm moving on, that only benefits Logan, right? But if she cries and makes it clear, like, hey, your actions really hurt me, that makes it clear, like, hey, Logan, you don't get to just walk away and feel like you're walking away scot-free, right? Your actions have consequences. They impact people. And so I think it's great that Rachel is just being just so fucking real. Be real, Rachel. We love you for it.
Justice for Rachel.
Justice for Rachel.
We're in your corner. So you know how me and Kelly feel about it. We're 100% Team Rachel. But do you think that she's being too sensitive or her reactions are overblown? Let us know in the comments down below.
Okay, so the other happenings this episode, the main thing that happened in week 5 was really just all about this Logan switcheroo drama. The other happenings were Rachel had a group date. She gave her group date rose to Tino. She went on a one-on-one with Aven, who also got a rose. Gabby gave a group date rose to Nate on her group date. And then she went on a one-on-one with Johnny, who also got a rose. So those kind of things were all happening in the background of the Logan drama. I don't know that no one was really sticking out to me that much among all of these dates. I don't know. Was anyone sticking out to you, Julie?
Nope, everyone is wallpaper to me. This season, it's like I am looking for any kind of connection, and it's just not really there outside of Nate, who is my favorite, and I want to be the Bachelor. I desperately want him to have some kind of, like, prominence in the Bachelor show. But yeah, none of the people. I'm just not vibing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people in this episode really enjoyed Tino and Tino's kind of connection to Rachel. People have been in love with Tino for the last 5 weeks since he appeared on the scene. I don't really get it. I continue to be a little confused. After Rachel was rejected by Logan, she canceled the day portion of her group date and only went to the evening portion of the group date. And in that evening portion, Tino kind of confronted her and was like, I was really upset. It kind of upset me that you canceled the day portion because I wanted to spend that time with you in Belgium, and you should be able to talk to me even when you're sad. You should be able to talk to us even when you're sad. I didn't even realize. I was kind of like, what? What are you talking about, Tino? Like, if she's sad, wants to stay in her room, leave her alone. Like, why are you bothering her? Like, I don't know. But she loved it. I mean, Rachel was like, you wanted to see me? So she loved it. So she ate it up, and they made up. The internet also loved it. The internet was like, Tino is so emotionally mature. And I was like, I'm not getting anything from this. This is not giving me...
He's not giving me anything. Some energy, I guess. More energy than most of the men are giving. But it's just like, what is she seeing in him?
Leave some comments down below. I know everyone loves Tino, so I'm sure that people are going to be mad at us for this. But, let us know what you think. I don't get it. What am I missing about Tino? How did we miss this boat on Tino? Just... tell us, please. What should we be looking for? What is impressive about Tino? We need to know. So then the episode ended with a rose ceremony as usual. Gabby chose Logan and sent home her first impression rose, Mario, as well as Michael. I was kind of surprised to see Mario go. I mean, he has fully faded since that first week, so it's not like I was... thinking that he had a connection to Gabby, but it is surprising. In the Bachelorette last couple of seasons, very, very consistently, the Bachelorette ends up with the person that they give their first impression rose to, and so it is pretty shocking. I mean, not shocking, but it is, of note that she sent her first impression rose home at week 5. Very, very, rare for a Bachelorette to do something like that. And Rachel sent home Meatball.
I figured. I knew that Meatball's reign was coming to an end.
Rachel is down to 5 guys now. Gabby has 6. Hometowns are apparently 2 weeks away. I don't really know how they're going to build these relationships between now and then, but apparently it is going to happen.
So last week we spoke a little bit about Rachel's continuation of her breakdown. Make sure to check that above and make sure to subscribe. We're talking about Rachel and Gabby all season, and we want to have you join in on the conversation. We're literally concerned and confused about a lot of the men that are happening, so we need to talk to you guys about it. So we'll see you guys next week. Bye.